The story begins with Max, who has just been released from prison after serving 14 years for assault. Meanwhile, in another part of town, Bowden and her teenage daughter, Donnie, discuss the logo for their new business. Later that day, they join Sam Bowden, Lee's husband, and Donnie's father, to watch a movie. During the movie, they are annoyed by a man smoking in front of them, unaware that it is Max, who is too engrossed in the film to notice. After the movie, the family buys a snack, but when Sam tries to pay, the cashier informs him it's already been covered by a man outside. Sam sees that it's Max in his car and, feeling nervous, quickly tells his family to go inside. When he looks back, Max has disappeared. The next day, Sam plays racquetball with his coworker, Lori Davis, who seems to have a liking for him. After their game, Sam suggests they shouldn't see each other outside of work for a while, making Lori think his wife is upset about their friendship. Sam admits his wife, Lee, doesn't know about her, but Lori believes their relationship is harmless. After saying goodbye to Lori, Sam heads to his car, only to have his keys snatched by Max, who asks if Sam remembers him. Sam pretends not to, but when Max refuses to return the keys, Sam acknowledges he remembers Max as a client from 14 years ago. Max finally returns the keys and mentions he might settle down in their town. Sam, feeling uneasy, drives away but hears Max muttering something about learning loss. When Sam stops to check, Max is gone. That night, Sam suggests going out of town for the holidays, but Lee reminds him they can't take time off and their daughter Donnie has summer school. This frustrates Sam, who complains about Donnie being punished for experimenting with substances, just as they did in their youth. Later, at midnight, Lee hears fireworks and looks outside to see Max staring back at her. Alarmed, she wakes Sam, and they both go to the backyard to chase him away, but they can't find him. Sam later explains to Lee that Max was his client and is probably angry at him for losing his case. The next morning, before leaving for work, Sam tells Lee to keep Donnie inside in case Max tries something. At his office, Sam talks to his colleague Tom Broadbent about Max, but they realize they can't do anything because Max hasn't committed any crimes. Instead, Sam files for a restraining order, but the hearing is in 10 days. He then confides in Tom about Max's case. Max had assaulted and taken advantage of a woman. Although the victim had a questionable reputation, Sam had hidden the reports because Max's actions were too serious. Tom is disappointed in Sam for this deception, but Sam defends his actions, believing Max's crime warranted it, and thought Max wouldn't find out because he couldn't read. Later, as Sam heads home, Max confronts him on the street and reveals he learned to read and studied law while in prison, even representing himself in an appeal. Understanding Max's veiled threat, Sam offers him money to leave him alone, but Max refuses, stating no money can compensate for the 14 years he lost. Sam returns to his office, only to receive a call from Lee, urgently summoning him home. Upon arrival, he discovers their dog has been poisoned, and he suspects Max. Sam reports the incident to the police, but they dismiss it due to lack of evidence. They also learn Max inherited significant money from his late mother's estate. Days later, the family is still upset that Max got away with it, but Sam insists they will catch him if he makes another move. While attending a parade, Sam spots Max in the crowd, staring at his wife. When confronted, Max makes lewd comments about Lee, provoking Sam to attack him. Max, playing the victim, gets the crowd to push Sam away. Max then goes to a local bar and meets Lori, who is drunk after being stood up by her date, a married man. Max, pretending to be a reformed ex-convict, gains Lori's trust by sharing a fabricated story about attacking a sheriff who was harming a woman. Convinced he's a good guy, Lori flirts with him, and they end up in a bedroom where Max cuffs and assaults her. The next day, the incident reaches the police. When Sam arrives at work, he's shocked to learn the victim is Lori. She admits she felt reckless after being stood up and wanted revenge by sleeping with someone else, but now regrets it deeply. Sam encourages her to testify against Max, but Lori refuses, fearing persecution for her actions and the possible revelation of her relationship with Sam. Later, Sam speaks with Lieutenant Elgard, who subtly suggests using his family as bait to draw out Max's psychopathic tendencies. Since they can't incarcerate Max without evidence, they need to provoke him into making a mistake. However, Sam thinks this idea is outrageous. Instead, he hires a private investigator named Claude Kursek to keep an eye on Max. When asked about his connection to Max, Sam admits he was Max's public defender after Max assaulted a young woman. Kursek then points out that Sam's daughter is nearly the same age as Max's previous victim, which worries Sam. One night, while surveilling Max, Kursek informs Sam that Max once had an inmate who complained about his smoking, and in retaliation, Max broke the man's neck and bit off his tongue. However, the officers couldn't prove Max did it. After the call, Sam contacts Lori, who is now planning to move away. He apologizes for involving her in his troubles, but during their conversation, Sam notices Lee standing behind him. When he ends the call, Lee confronts him about his infidelity. She theorizes that Max targeted Lori because she is Sam's mistress, then hits Sam in anger. Donnie witnesses this and locks herself in her room, crying. Lee brings up how this isn't the first time Sam has been unfaithful and recalls how they had to uproot their family to start over. She yells that it was pointless since he did it again. Sam defends himself by saying Lori was merely infatuated with him. He then admits he's scared of Max, believing he harmed Lori because she wouldn't testify, to avoid ruining her reputation. He suspects Max knew that Lee would become suspicious and assume an affair, thereby destroying Sam's home life. Sam tries to assure his wife that since they understand Max's tactics, they can work together to defeat him. However, Lee remains unconvinced, so Sam ends up sleeping on the couch that night. Meanwhile, Kursek follows Max to a diner, only to find that Max has already paid for his meal. Kursek confronts Max, telling him to leave town, but Max remains unfazed and even threatens Kursek not to provoke him. Later, Max stops by Sam's house and hands a dog collar to Lee, pretending he just found it. When Lee realizes who he is, she starts taunting him. Despite this, Max implies that he knows she's unhappy, adding that things would have been different if her husband hadn't betrayed them both. Just then, Donnie comes outside, and as soon as Max lays eyes on her, he speeds off. Kursek meets up with Sam and reports that following Max might become expensive, given that Max is careful and aware. Instead, the investigator suggests hiring a hitman to take care of Max. This offends Sam, who reminds Kursek that he's a lawyer and can't act against the law. That night, Donnie receives a call from her new drama teacher, who claims to be checking on his list of students. The teacher sounds troubled, so Donnie encourages him to talk about it. Unbeknownst to her, this teacher is actually Max, who successfully charms the young lady. The following day, Donnie shows up to her drama class and meets Max, who is smoking. Max shares the cigarette with her and further charms her by comparing her situation to the novel she's been reading. He acknowledges that Donnie shouldn't be treated as a child and encourages her to read more mature books. This piques the young woman's curiosity, but she soon becomes suspicious and questions Max. Max admits who he really is, though he feigns innocence about her father's accusations. Donnie gets scared, but Max promises not to hurt her. Instead, he suggests they can be honest with each other, something Donnie can't do with her parents. By manipulating her into thinking she's in control, Max successfully gets close to Donnie and kisses her. However, Lee soon discovers what they smoked in Donnie's books, which leads Sam to confirm that Max went to his daughter's school. Desperate to protect her, Sam tells Kursek to hire men to kill Max. Sam meets with Max at a diner to give him a warning, only to receive an unfazed reaction. When Sam gets home, Donnie worries about what her father will do. She then giddily tells him that Max didn't force himself on her. Seeing her behavior, Sam aggressively interrogates his daughter, scaring her. He later tries to apologize, but Donnie screams at him to leave. Meanwhile, the hired men set out to beat Max to death. Sam oversees this but is surprised when Max overpowers the hitman. Knowing that Sam is watching, Max declares his dominance over them before leaving. The following morning, Sam contacts a renowned lawyer, only to learn that Max has already hired him. Not long after, Max files a restraining order against Sam and reveals that he recorded Sam's threat when they met at the diner. The judge grants the restraining order, and Max's lawyer even petitions for Sam's disbarment. Because of this, Sam asks Kursek for a gun, but Kursek warns him that he'll be imprisoned if he kills Max. Considering this, Sam breaks down, ranting about how Max made him look like the threat. Sam is also being summoned for a 2-day emergency session in Raleigh, and Kursek predicts that Max will break into Sam's house while he's away. However, this will make it justifiable to kill him. With this plan in mind, Sam pretends to fly to Raleigh, knowing Max is watching his every move. In truth, he sneaks back to the house with the help of his wife and daughter. Kursek also sets up traps in Sam's house to detect any intruders while he stands guard downstairs. Lee finds Sam reading the Bible in bed, and he recounts that Max told him to read the book of Job, where God tested Job's faith by taking everything from him. This made Sam curious about his enemy's thoughts. Nothing happens that night, but the following day, Donnie finds a book outside, which Max left for her. That night, the trap is triggered, alerting Kursek. He goes to the kitchen and finds the Bowden's maid. While pouring himself a drink, Max, disguised as the maid he has already killed, reveals himself. Max then strangles and shoots Kursek. The noise wakes up the couple, but when they come downstairs, they only find the bodies. Sam discovers that Kursek was killed with piano wire, which he had noticed was missing earlier. He realizes that Max has been secretly entering their house. Angry, Sam grabs Kursek's gun and goes on a rampage until his family stops him. The next day, the family flees. Sam calls the authorities, explaining that they left because his family is in danger and they will only return if Max is caught. Unbeknownst to them, Max is hiding under their car. Later, the family takes their houseboat to the middle of the Cape Fear River. That night, as it rains and they dine together, Sam checks the anchor outside because the boat keeps rocking. Max sneaks up on him and chokes him until he passes out. The violent man then goes into the houseboat and confronts the women. He mocks Donnie, prompting her to throw boiling water on him. This doesn't significantly hurt Max, who then locks the woman in a cupboard while he assaults Lee. Meanwhile, Donnie is gathering supplies in the cupboard. When Lee attempts to take Max's gun, he stops her and handcuffs her. Max drags a tied-up Sam inside to make him watch what he plans to do to his family. Sam begs Max to hurt him instead, prompting Max to stomp on his head. Lee shouts for him to stop and says she understands what it's like to see her life passing by. She pleads with Max to do it with her and not her daughter. Max agrees and lights a cigarette in triumph, but Donnie pours kerosene on him, setting him on fire. Max jumps into the water and grabs a rope connected to the anchor. Later, Sam tries to steer the boat through the raging river, but the half-burnt Max gets back on board and points a gun at his face. He sets up a mock trial about Sam's mistake from 14 years ago, forcing Sam to admit that he hid a report about the victim's behavior. Sam confesses but insists the victim's past doesn't excuse Max's actions. This enrages Max, who shouts that he was Sam's client and that report could have saved him from suffering for 14 years. Max declares that Sam will feel all the pain he endured. He points his gun at Lee and Donnie, ordering them to strip. Before they do, a strong storm hits, causing the boat to spin and throw Max overboard. This gives the family a chance to jump into the water, but before they can escape, Max pulls Sam back inside. The two men fight while the boat keeps moving. Max finds the gun but fails to shoot Sam. Sam then crawls on the floor and uses Max's handcuffs to chain him to the boat. The boat crashes into a big rock and gets destroyed, leaving both men washed ashore. Sam plans to kill Max by dropping a rock on his head, but the tide pulls Max away. As Max sinks deeper into the river, he sings the hymn On Jordan's Stormy Banks I Stand, accepting his fate. Max finally disappears into the water, and Sam washes his bloody hands, trying to process what happened. Soon after, he finds his family safe on shore. After this horrific event, the family decides never to speak of Max or his crimes again. Donnie realizes their lives will never be the same and accepts this, knowing that holding on to the past makes her die a little every day. She chooses to live. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.